So we're going to shake things up a little bit. And instead of me teaching all of you guys at one time, we're going to change it up and we're going to do video notes, which just means that I'm teaching you as an individual by yourself. So I'm just talking just to you. So before I just turn you loose today to practice, I want to go over an example where I'm graphing compound inequalities with OR and where I'm graphing compound inequalities with AND. So just as a reminder from yesterday, when I'm graphing with OR, I'm going to have two separate arrows. Two arrows that are disconnected. So I'm going to draw a line just to show the fact that I'm working with two completely separate problems. So when I look at the first one, I have x plus 1 is greater than or equal to 3. I need to do the inverse of plus 1, which is minus 1. So I create a 0, and I can say x is greater than or equal to 3 minus 1 is 2. I can go ahead and graph that. 2 is going to be a closed dot because it is or equal to, and my arrow is going to point to the right because it's greater than. For my next equation, I'm starting with a fraction, so I need to do the opposite. I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 3/4. Okay, when I see a fraction, I'm multiplying by the opposite, flipping it upside down. 3/4. My two fractions are going to cancel out, so I'm left with x is less than -8 times 3/4 is -6. So I can go on my number line, make an open arrow at -6, and because it is less than, we are going to point left. When we do our interval notation, we're going one arrow at a time. So looking at this arrow, the left side of that arrow is pointing towards -infinity. Infinity always gets a parentheses. The right side of that arrow is pointing at -6 with an open circle, so it's also getting a parentheses. Or my right arrow, the left side of it is at 2 with a closed dot, so it's a bracket, comma. The right side of that arrow is pointing at infinity. Infinity also gets a parentheses. So I want you to pause the video. I want you to work number 2, 3, 4, and 5. These are all examples with OR, having two separate arrows. Remember that when we divide by a negative, we flip the sign. When we divide by a negative, we flip the sign. While you are working, you are welcome to listen to music. Okay, I want us free from distractions. I don't want the people around us distracting us or getting us off task. Work 2, 3, 4, and 5. I will have a key for you to check yourself. Once you finish those 4, then I want you to resume the video to work out the last half. Okay, go ahead and pause the video now. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Once you get those and you check them, then resume the video. So if you're still watching, you should have already completed the first 5 problems. Then we're going to compound inequalities with AND, meaning it's giving me one problem all in one long line. So yesterday we separated into sections because my goal is to get that middle section just with x. So I'm going to distribute if I can, which I can't here. I'm going to combine like terms if I can, which I don't need to here. I'm going to move the smaller variable. We only have one variable. And then I'm going to move constants. So my constant in that middle section is a -10. So I have to add +10. And I'm going to do it in all the categories, not just the middle one. I got to do it in all of them. So negative 24 plus 10, negative 14, less than or equal to 2x, which is less than positive 4. Then my last step is going to be to divide. So negative 7 is less than or equal to x less than 2. So these two numbers are telling me where my dots are going. Negative 7 is getting a closed dot because that sign is or equal to. Positive 2 is getting an open dot. Since my problem is all connected in one long line, I'm just going to connect the dots. When I don't have the word or, my dots are being connected. This makes our interval notation a lot easier. That line is starting with negative 7. It's a closed dot, so it's going to get a bracket. My line is ending at 2. It's an open dot, so it's going to get a parentheses. While you guys are working, I'm going to be walking around. I'm going to be answering questions. I'm going to be giving any help that I possibly can. But I encourage you, leave those headphones in. Listen to music if that helps you focus. You can leave those headphones in silence if that helps you focus. Finish out these last 4 problems. Check yourself. We'll put a grade on it, and then we'll drop it in the basket. Let's get busy.